Well, hello my lovelies and welcome back to my channel. I absolutely love having you back here with me for another video today. If you're new, I'm Stephanie. I am a language enthusiast that usually makes videos on the topic of giving advice on how to learn languages, what I've learned in my language learning journey of having learned 10 languages at this point, and just how I go about it, what tips and tricks I've learned, what are my polyglot secrets. However, this is a little bit of a different video from that because in this video I want to talk about my language learning plan for 2023. This is something that I've never done before. I've never created a language learning plan. This is the first time that I'm gonna do it, and I have my reasons to why I want to. So usually I'm not a person that does New Year's resolutions. It's just not who I am. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It just doesn't fit me and my personality. So I'm not even gonna call it resolutions. It's just like a little bit of a plan, of a guidance, of a sit down and think, okay, what do you want to do this year in terms of languages? That kind of thing. The reason why I felt that there's this need for me to do it this time, and like there's never been this need before, is simply because I just didn't do that much in terms of learning languages in 2022, and it's a hobby for me, it's a passion, it's something I love to do, and I want to be able to prioritize my passion. And so I was like, okay, let's think about it, let's think about what I want to achieve. When I say I didn't really achieve that much last year, I would say that it was mostly about improving the languages that I already spoke. And I also started studying Russian and Persian a bit, but just not to the extent that I wanted to. And I feel like a lot of what happened in 2022 was because of my life got really hectic and busy. So there was a lot going on in many areas of my life. And then there was also this aspect of I started this YouTube channel, which was quite the challenge because this is something that I'd never done before. You know, I didn't know anything about video editing or YouTube as an algorithm and everything. Just like so much learning. And also I think that's something that many people don't see is how much work YouTube truly is. It's truly a lot of work. And then I have a corporate job on top of that. So I feel like maybe that's what. It's not that I didn't have the time to invest in languages as much, because time is something that I feel like we can all find a little bit of time in our day, or stack habits, or just utilize that time to learn languages better. And actually I'm gonna put the video on the screen somewhere about how you can find more time. So it wasn't really that I didn't have time, because you can always work around that. It was that I didn't really have as much energy. So when you feel like you don't really have that much energy, it's just much easier to default to improving languages you already know. And this is what I was focused on this year, and I was able to actually get some certain languages to a fluent level, like Italian, and I was able to kind of improve quite a lot in terms of other languages that I speak. Like my Greek is much better now than it used to be in the beginning of 2022. So that's just kind of a little bit less taxing in terms of energy, because when it comes to learning a new language, it's really the most difficult part is in the beginning, right? It's not when you get to the super complex levels of very advanced language, because at that point you've already learned so much of the language. So I feel like the beginning is the toughest, and for that reason this year for me was much more focused on improving languages that are intermediate level and trying to get them to advanced level. And so I feel like on one hand I achieved a lot, especially with the energy I had and like everything was going on in my life. But then on the other hand, I want to learn some more languages from scratch this year. So this is like what I achieved in 2022 versus like where I hope to be in 2023 is a bit more towards the new languages. So for just a little bit of context, if this is the first time you see me, hi, nice to meet you. So my native language is Bulgarian, and then I'm fluent in English, obviously, this video is in English, but then also Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian. And those are languages that I'm just not gonna bother with. I don't really need maintenance as much. I am gonna read some books in those languages just because I kind of have some books that I really want to read that are in those languages, but I'm not gonna worry about those languages at all. It's like not gonna take any of my energy. I am gonna be using them, probably talking to Spanish speaking friends, etc. Reading some books in Portuguese, but that's just I'm just gonna utilize and enjoy the languages I know. I'm not gonna worry about maintaining, improving, anything like that. Then when it comes to the languages that I am not fluent in, number one is German. German is a language that I studied at school, but it was always like school only, which I really don't think is enough for anybody to achieve any level of fluency in the language. So I never really studied that much of it outside of school, and I really want to kind of get more into it. And I've shown you in my German master guide, what books I've picked, what resources I've picked for German. And so I'm going to utilize some of those resources. I'm going to read some books in German. I think that this is going to be very helpful for me, because when it comes to reading, I feel like it's very powerful. Of course, I was listening to some podcasts, but what I want to do is try to get it from this kind of intermediate level to be advanced and to finally perhaps become fluent in German. I don't know if that's going to happen, because I am not going to create specific goals in terms of what language I get fluent and what I don't, because there's 3 languages that I want to improve this year. So it's not just German. It's German, it's French, and it's Greek. And those are languages where I'm kind of at around the intermediate level, like perhaps the levels between 3 languages vary a little. I don't know, and I don't care. I don't care to put a number on it and like a specific level of like B1.2, whatever. So these 3 are languages that I'm going to be improving. I'm going to be doing a lot of reading, a lot of watching videos and movies and podcasts, that kind of stuff. This is something that I also did in 2022. I want to keep doing it. I want to keep improving it. I was focused quite a lot on French actually in 2022. This year I think I'm going to be focused on Greek. Let me show you why. All right, here's my stack. And I just have so many books that I picked up on my travels to Greece this year. I have like Homeric hymns, and I also have these 2, like what ancient Greeks thought about the soul and about the gods. So as you can see, I'm a huge fan of classics. I'm a huge fan of ancient history and ancient Greek studies. Of course, those are natural books for me to pick up. I always advise people whenever I coach them on language learning, it's like, please pick something in your own interest group, because that's just how it works. And then, a language book that I really want to read is about languages and, how linguistics are developing and where we're going, and are we all going to be speaking English one day? God, I hope not, but you know what I mean. Another language book, and then a book about like not caring that much. So as you can see, I have a lot of books on Greek. Then I have here in my pocketbook even more books, and it's just like I have so much reading material in Greek, and I think that Greek is going to replace French this year for me in terms of being the language that I'm improving the most. But yeah, those are the 3 languages that I'm going to improve. As you see, it's going to be very much input focused, it's going to be very much pleasure focused, it's going to be based on books that I like, it's going to be based on TV shows that I like, etc. It's not going to be anything difficult. And as I said, this is not something that requires much energy. These are languages that are at the intermediate level already. They're not going to require much. Reading these books is just not going to require that much of a struggle. When speaking of struggle, here's what's going to be a bit of a challenge. Russian and Persian. So Russian actually not so much, just because it's a Slavic language and I feel like it's going to be easy for me. I gave you a few weeks ago like my Russian study plan, and I am going to stick to that study plan. Unfortunately, I have not been great about the 15 minutes per day rule. No, it's like, well, it's difficult with the holidays and like family gatherings. Okay, that's the reason. But I am planning to resume that, and I'm planning to. I got this book in Russian. Yes, by the way, I'm a complete beginner in Russian. Not complete, but like beginner. I don't speak it yet, but I understand so much. So that's why I can bend the rules here and just start reading more complicated books right away, just because the vocabulary is so familiar because I'm Bulgarian. So there's that. I'm not saying that you can start reading complex books right away, but just a caveat here. I got this book, like Think and Grow Rich, by Napoleon Hill in Russian. It's a finance classic that I really wanted to read for a while, and I was like, why not read it in Russian? So that's a great tip for you, by the way. If there's a book that you really want to read, find it in your target language. That's super helpful. And so yeah, I hope that makes sense. I hope it makes sense that yes, I'm a total beginner, but I can understand the language. So I'm just a total beginner in speaking, I suppose. And so that's what's gonna allow me to actually add that book to my Russian study plan and be able to to learn more quickly, and I think that wanting to read this book is going to help me stick better to my 15-minute rule. So I thought I'd share this in this video because I'd love for you to know that people on YouTube like me, when we have plans, we don't, when we have rules, like for example for Russian, I made this rule of 15 minutes of study per day. I didn't hold up to it, and when you fail, it's okay, because I just didn't hold up to that rule. I didn't hold up to my own rule. And what I can do now is to find a way, figure out some way to stick to this learning that I wanted to stick to. And figuring this out for me means getting a book that I really want to read. And so I hope that that desire to read that book is going to help me come back to Russian. And so I hope that if you're struggling in a similar way, that you can draw some inspiration from this. And so here's the most difficult thing I'm gonna do this year in terms of language learning. That's Persian or Farsi, whatever name you prefer to use for it. Yeah, that's a challenge. So what I achieved last year was I kind of learned a writing script, but not really, because you need it. It takes a lot of reading before you get used to such a complex writing script, and before you get used to reading in it comfortably, it's not gonna happen, in a week or so. It takes time. It's a process. So I started with a little bit of Persian last year in terms of learning the script, and I have Asimil, and this is what I'm gonna use for Persian, and I'm gonna try to give it a go, just because I've used a lot of other intro books. I'm not a hardcore fan of any of them, just because I'm not that type of person that thinks that which intro book you pick is that important. I just don't think so. I think it's okay. As long as you pick a kind of good one, you'll be fine. But I've heard a lot of great things about Asimil, and I've looked at Asimil before, but I never really started learning a language from scratch with Asimil. So this is what I'm gonna do with Persian, and I don't know, maybe after I finish it, I can give you an Asimil review and tell you what I think of the program. But this is the first. Yeah, I've never used Asimil as a first language book, and so it's gonna happen for me this time. But yeah, I'm gonna use it for Persian, and I think that this is gonna be a little bit of a tougher language. Plus side is it is Indo-European, but I just went for it based on passion, based on just wanting to learn more about Persian culture, just wanting to, because as I mentioned, a fan of ancient history, of course. Ancient Persia fascinates me naturally. Persian poetry is something I'm interested in, so for me, this is going to be a very interesting language to explore, a little bit more of an exotic language. Certainly the script will be a challenge, will continue to be a challenge. Who knows, maybe until I get intermediate. But this is something that I really hope to achieve in 2023. Now, there's another language that I've spoken about before in some of my polyglot conversations, for example, on my channel. I have mentioned it, but I didn't actually get to study it yet. That language is Swedish. I actually bought an introductory book for Swedish, I think 2 years ago. And I still haven't started. I did one lesson, then I kind of got distracted by other languages, so I haven't done it. So Swedish has been on my list to learn forever. I don't know why, I'm just attracted to it, but at the end of the day, it's not gonna be in my plan. So it's gonna be in my plan, but with a little bit of a asterisk next to it, because I feel like I have so much going on. I'm gonna be trying to improve 3 of the languages that I already speak in intermediate level. I'm trying to get them fluent, and then I'm also gonna be learning 2 new languages from scratch, one easier, one more difficult. And I just don't know if I can also do Swedish, because that's 5 languages already. And yes, 2 of them are from scratch only, the other 3 are not, but at the end of the day, it's still 5 languages. It's still quite a lot, and I know I'm quite busy. I know that, it's not gonna change this year. I'm still gonna have all of those things going on in my life, I'm still gonna do YouTube, by the way, of course. So that's gonna take up a huge chunk of my time, and I'm not gonna have as much energy, I think, to pick up Swedish as well. But I am mentioning it in this video because if something happens, I just find I have a lot of energy, and I just find I don't mind adding another language, then I might end up adding Swedish. So let's see about that. So that's it for this week's video. Let me know in the comments below what your language learning plans are for this year, if you make any, or if you're like me, that this is the first time you plan what you're gonna learn. hi, welcome to the team. But in any case, I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to hear your plans. I feel like the New Year energy is like such a good time to make those plans and to kind of get behind on your goals and what you want to achieve. So I would love to learn more. Please like and subscribe, of course, as always, because it truly helps my channel and it truly helps me as a creator. And I would love to see you back here next Wednesday when I'm going to be discussing how to create your own language learning plan, in case, you know, you have these languages that you want to learn like me and you're like, how do I actually make a plan for each language? So I will see you soon. Until then, have a wonderful week. Bye bye.